Today on This Week in Startups, the founder of Hashable, Michael Yavonditte, is on the program. We have another Shark Tank and another brave entrepreneur who will swim in those waters. Perhaps even today we'll have an insight from Tyler. Not contractually obligated to have one every show, but he is contractually obligated to have 75 per year, so we're due for one. All this and more on This Week in Startups.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Welcome back, welcome back. It's another This Week in Startups. We've got a great program for you today. Man, we're only a week away from the big launch conference. It is coming together. We've got 40 amazing companies that are going to launch. And Tyler, how we doing?
Good?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, good. There you have it, folks. He's doing good. We're going to give away the This Week in Startups bag to somebody who tweets. Thank you to MailChimp. Let's take a look at that bag one more time. Oh boy, you want one of those bags. That is a sexy looking man bag. Look at that. And that's like, it's like a plastic where they burn that logo in, but we didn't make it green, we didn't make it orange. Made it very subtle. So, you know, it's like you wear the bag, but you know, you have to, it's not like you're not a billboard for This Week in Startups. It's like you're part of a private club. So we're going to be giving away 3 of those to people who tweet. Thank you to @MailChimp for sponsoring the program. Inside of the bag will be a ticket to the launch conference. Hey. And hey, speaking of MailChimp, thank you so much to MailChimp for making my life easy. Did you know it's free to sign up for MailChimp, Tyler? And it's free for up to 1,000 subscribers.
Is it 500 or 1,000?
It's 1,000. So basically, like, they've taken half the market, and they don't even try to make money from them, because they know that if you have under 1,000, it's such a good tool for building a mailing list that they'll get you over 1,000, and then you'll buy credits. And it's so cheap. It's just like buying like credits in like, I don't know, Farmville or something like that, and you just get some credits, and if you need to send stuff, and they have these other things you could buy, like Mailbox Inspector. And this is the critical thing for me, because I'm sending it to 22,000 people, and there are all these different spam filters that go across all these different sites. And I like to put URLs. You guys get the, you know, the newsletter. They have a tool where you run the newsletter through it, and it tells you if any of those links are potentially on a black or gray list. Oh. And sure enough, there are I was using Bitly links at one point. And it turns out some people, because it's a URL shortener, think, oh my God, Bitly is for spammers, and that email would not have been delivered in some cases. So instead of using Bitly, I use my own Bitly Pro, JCIS. And so if I put JCIS in as my URL shortener, hey, no problem. It's not on any gray list. Why would it be? I'm the only person who could make a JC.is link. And MailChimp let me know about that proactively. Additionally,
one smart monkey.
It is a smart monkey over there. Yes, they basically send the email down to a room, and there's a bunch of chimpanzees running around. The monkeys are running around looking for spam links. But no, that's not what happens. But they have another feature where it will send. It's like Delivery Doctor or something. It's like costs like whatever, 5 credits for Delivery Doctor. It costs nothing. But you send it to it, and then it makes a screenshot of what it looks like on the iPhone, what it looks like on BlackBerry, what it looks like on AOL Mail.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Right.
So then what I realized was, oh, my table of contents is too long. People on something like AOL or Juno Mail or whatever F it is, you know, I can say, oh, that's what it looks like. Okay, I should cut some stuff out. Because, you know, like Yahoo Mail has like some big header, you know.
Right.
Like, so anyway, you get the idea. Those kind of advanced features you're only going to get from MailChimp, and you got to go sign up. Just sign up right now and test it, and you will understand the beauty of which I speak. Go ahead and sign up. They're also accepting.
Probably a good idea if you're starting out as an entrepreneur to go see how something so well made is done.
It's a good point. If you just want to see good product design with a couple of things in it, just sign up and test it because it's amazing. What a great program! And they have the $1 million integration fund. It's just like their own personal Y Combinator. Build any application that integrates with the MailChimp platform and API, and they may fund it. So they're accepting applications over at MailChimp. And if you want to go work for a company, I would go work for that company because it's a great company. Today on the program, Michael Yavonditte. Yavonditte.
That's right.
It's a Ya, it's a Vin, and a Diddy.
And I'm running right out to buy MailChimp. You've sold me.
I have sold you on, haven't I?
I love the delivery aspect of the service.
It is pretty
knowing
amazing.
in advance that it's going to make it to the mailbox is quite important.
It's totally important, and it's something that like these other programs. I mean, I can't tell you when I was on these other programs, so many just on a customer service basis. Like, I don't have time to have like all these knuckleheads on Twitter. I didn't get the newsletter. Can you send it to me? It's like literally every time I send a newsletter, 300, 400 people would say whatever. Now, one person, 2 people, and then they're like, oh wait, no, I have it. I know it's here. Every time they say I didn't get it, like one person. And then it turns out it was their mistake, not MailChimp's. You've been an entrepreneur, gosh, in the internet space since '96, like myself. You started working at Juno. I know that.
I did.
A little bit of time at the, well, you were at AltaVista as well, right? Which was the first?
Juno first.
Juno
that was
first.
My entry into the internet space.
Juno was the free, no, it was an ISP. It was like Earthlink.
Free email.
Free
dial-up email that transitioned to low-cost ISP service.
Right. They undercut the AOL.
They did.
And that was a really interesting thing. You could dial up and get your email for free, and then they upsold you on other stuff. It was like one of the first freemium type experiences.
Yeah, it was. And we built a proprietary ad system.
Right.
That was pretty complex. Actually, the guys that built that ad system ended up, many of them, moving as a group to Google, and they were the folks. Gokul Rajaram was the father of AdSense.
Wow.
So those guys, they're a bunch of MIT guys, and as Juno was famous for, recruited
Ivy League,
recruited the best and the brightest.
I remember them from New York. So where did you go? Harvard, MIT?
No, I went to Pace University.
You went to Pace? You blue collar?
I'm
melon farmer.
I'm so embarrassed that I almost don't tell anyone that.
I went to Fordham at Lincoln Center.
I live 2 blocks away.
So you went to Pace by the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yep.
I had a lot of friends who went to Pace. That's about $6,000 a year.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper than NYU or the other
NYU was probably about $15-20 when you went to.
Right.
This is in the '90s, early '90s.
Right. So I had to pay.
And you had to pay.
College,
I paid for mine too. I was paying $9,000. I went to Fordham. It's a much better school than Pace.
Yeah.
It was like this: Pace, Fordham, NYU. I mean, and then Columbia was basically the ranking. So if you couldn't get into,
I was too smart to think that it mattered. Anyways.
Well, if you were at Columbia, you look down on the New York University people. If you're at New York University, you look down at the Fordham people.
Sure.
And the only people the Fordham people who look down on were the Pace kids. And the Pace kids were looking down at the kids.
Talk about a warm welcome.
Welcome to the program, Michael. No, but it is true. It was that was the people's college. It was like
it's not.
In terms of private school.
Yeah.
It was the most affordable private school in New York.
Yes.
So either you went to City School, CUNY, or SUNY.
Right.
CUNY was probably
Which is really where my parents wanted me to go. This is SUNY school. I was from upstate New York.
Oh, really? Where
from
upstate?
Albany.
Oh, you're from Albany.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I lived 5 miles from the
Oneonta, SUNY
Albany campus.
Yeah, it was Albany, Oneonta, and Binghamton.
That was too close.
Right. But I mean, there was 3 state schools up there, right?
Yeah.
SUNY Albany, SUNY Binghamton, SUNY Oneonta.
Yep.
3.
Those were all within striking distance.
And those were that was $4,000 a year, I think, right?
those
Something
were
like that.
cheaper.
It was cheap.
Yep.
So they wanted you to go there.
But now they have Division I sports.
I didn't know
SUNY
that.
Albany. So
Wow.
there's a little more of an enticement to go there.
Who cares? But to work at Juno, they were famously known for being quite obnoxious and elitist and asking for your SATs. Is that true?
That is true.
So you went
And lots
as
of reference checks and.
A reference check is standard.
Yeah.
But are you telling me you went to an interview as an adult, graduated from college, and they asked you to dig up your SATs from before you went to college?
Yeah, and I don't recall my reaction, but I'm sure it was something like, where do I go to get that, or how do I do that, or
are you
like
guys
that.
like pretentious a-holes for asking me for my? I mean, but what?
Well, the story. Here's the story.
First of all, what did you get on your SATs? 1,600. Tell us the truth.
No, a lot lower.
Perfect
than that.
on math.
No, a lot lower.
700, 740.
Something in the 12s.
You only got 1,200 on your SATs?
Yeah, something
Are you
like
kidding?
that.
I'm writing that down here. 1,200.
Okay.
So basically,
I was an underachiever.
you went to Pace.
Yeah.
The bottom private school, and then you get 1,200 SATs, which is 400 points more than the average that year, I bet. Average was probably around 750, 800. So that was good. You were in the top third, top 25%. But I heard that they wanted people who were 14, 15, 1,600.
They relaxed their standards for me.
Why? Why?
I think they thought I could help them.
Oh, so what was the story? Tell me the story about the SATs.
Look, the story of Juno is really an interesting one. We talked a little bit off camera about this, but it was run by a guy named Charles Ardai, who was a young CEO at the time in his 20s, who was the person that was the head of recruitment for David Shaw.
Right.
So they called recruitment strategic growth.
Strategic growth. Oh my God, how pretentious.
HR, right. And the only other company I've ever heard of to this day that calls their HR department strategic growth is Amazon. And I think the connection is Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos started his career, I think, at D.E. Shaw, at least the New York part.
What was D.E. Shaw? Was D.E. Shaw a consulting firm?
Major hedge fund.
Hedge funding.
This genius named David Shaw had a lot of money, and in the mid-'90s decided that the internet looked interesting to him, and he started having beer and coffee and pizza parties on Friday afternoons, and he would call in a bunch of the smart people from his organization that had a creative sort of side to their brain.
Yeah.
And he said, we have this money.
Let's put it to work.
The web looks promising. What should we do?
And Juno was one of them.
One guy said email. Email's going to be ubiquitous. Everyone needs an email address.
Right.
And I think as the story goes, Jeff Bezos says, yeah, but books are a really important business, and most people don't live near a Barnes & Noble, and it's something
they said,
that can be...
Get the heck out of here, you idiot. What are you talking about?
Something can be easily shipped.
Did he give him money and do it?
No, I think the story...
They just basically kicked him out on his ass.
Well, the story, for some reason...
Is ass and curse on... Does that count or no? I don't think it does.
I certainly was... I was a young kid at the time, so I wasn't in that room, but I think as the story goes, David Shaw was more intellectually drawn to the email argument than he was to the book argument.
Makes sense.
I think it did. It seemed safe.
And Juno's model was really interesting. You had a free dial-up account, which nobody had. They used to do these commercials that it was free, you get email, and you saw ads.
Right.
And they were one of the first people to sell. I think they had interstitial ads as well.
Yeah, we had pop-up ads like AOL. They didn't work quite as well, but they were still functionally similar.
Yeah, but they were more like interstitials, weren't they? Like you sort of had to go through one, like a roadblock, more than a pop-up. Like it wasn't a separate window. It was like, your session is sponsored by this, whatever.
Yep. Well, over the years, we created all kinds of ads.
And it went public, and it did well.
Juno was successul. I mean, a lot of people forget about it.
Yeah.
It ended up merging with Net Zero, but at one point, its market cap was...
Tens of millions of people, billions of dollars. Yeah,
$1 billion.
Yeah.
And it had
I remember in New York,
real revenue, and it was a real company.
So then you go over to AltaVista.
Yes.
Really the first search engine on the web, or one of them along with Lycos and Magellan.
Yep.
What was that like? What year was that?
1999, the end of 99.
Good time.
I got unlocked from the Juno IPO. I was an officer of the company, so I had to conform to their rules and policies. The day I could leave, I left, packed up my stuff, and essentially spent a couple months in New York, and then went to California, went to Palo Alto, and did my tour of duty in Silicon Valley.
Then it imploded.
Shortly
after you got there.
I spent a year and a half there essentially, and worked on large revenue, business development partnerships, the big deals. I worked on the revenue stuff, and Jeff Housenbolt sort of was my counterpart on the audience development and traffic stuff.
So biz dev and sort of getting people to write a check.
Those big, stupid portal deals. Because remember, we had made a decision.
Explain what a portal deal is, because I have a bunch of kids watching this program who are like 19. There are 15-year-olds watching the show in Australia and in Europe.
So you're an insurance company, and you want to get leads and drive lots of users to your site. You'd come to someone like AltaVista and say, look, I want the maximum number of customers from you every month. I want I want you to put together a giant package of traffic from your search engine and from your portal and from your business channel and all the other sections on your site.
100% share of voice.
Yeah, cobble it together and drive as much traffic to my site as possible, to my sign-up process, and we'll pay you $10 million a year.
Right.
And
you got to hit certain metrics.
Yeah, we had lots of metrics and numbers that we wanted to try to hit as a company, and so we had some skin in the game. We had to achieve certain milestones, and
AOL was famous for these deals, and they
pioneered them, and we just copied.
Tens of millions of dollars in these for CD Now and.
Yep.
What was the music CD company? Remember that one in New York? M2K or K2?
N2K, I think.
N2K, right?
N2K.
You got it.
Yep.
They used to sell CDs, and it was them and Music Now or CD Now. What was it?
I think there was a CD Now and a music something.
Anyway, they would pay $25 million, $50 million, and if one person got Yahoo, the other one got AOL, one got AOL, the next one got AltaVista, and if you got enough of those deals together, you could go public.
You could go public on simply your media metrics numbers, or the fact that you had more people this quarter than last quarter coming to your site.
Yeah.
and it had little to do with your current revenue or business model. It was all about the future promise of those business models.
You lived through that bubble. You watched it. You participated in it.
I did.
Benefited in some ways.
I did.
And obviously caused it. No, you didn't cause it. But you were a part of it.
I was.
Now we see people talking about another bubble.
Yeah.
$80 billion Facebook, $16 billion Groupon, $3.7 billion Twitter. The last Facebook auction, it didn't hit the numbers and it went down, from what I understand, for the first time. Are we in another bubble? How does it compare to 2000?
I don't think we're in another bubble. I think the internet has gotten much bigger and much more important to all of our lives. It's an indispensable part of our lives now.
It wasn't then?
I don't think so. I think we were starting to get addicted. Now we're all really addicted.
Right.
And I think between I think most people they use the web for both socialization and business, and that those two things have blended together. Now we all carry little miniature computers in our pocket that are fast enough and big enough to further that addiction.
Right.
And I think not enough attention is paid to the fact that we're all addicted to the internet. And I think so the businesses can get much bigger now. They can get bigger faster with less capital. And one can sit here and predict that Facebook's going to implode. I'm not going to be one of those people that does that, because I just think it's a fool's game to try to predict such a thing.
Yeah. We're betting against 600 million people.
Right, and it's growing
in an 8-year service.
Rapidly.
Yeah.
And Groupon, I think, is another example of they're attacking this massive market. They've invented sort of a new way to discount products and services. And Americans love to buy discounted products, and merchants in America love to create discounted products. They like to benefit from those discounted products.
So when you look at, say, AltaVista and Juno, what type of revenue were those companies at their peak bringing in? Was it low hundreds? 50, tens of millions?
Juno, I think, when I left, was doing 100 million plus.
Right.
AltaVista, much higher than that.
Hundreds of millions, probably.
Yeah, but AltaVista's revenue was much softer.
Yeah.
And when the bubble burst, that revenue went away.
The people who were paying for it maybe weren't getting the exact value out of it.
Oh man, the thing that drove me away was having CFOs of public companies calling me up and screaming at me because we weren't delivering the value anymore. And after getting yelled at
you got to go to your boss.
By grown adults, screaming and almost crying on the phone.
Right.
I walked in one morning and said, I don't think I want to do this anymore.
Right. It was a classic case of overselling.
Oh yeah, because
the internet itself was oversold.
Look, a lot of us knew that these deals weren't working. They were diseconomic.
Yeah.
But a lot of us also thought that maybe we would, for the better companies, these deals, we would grow into making these deals work.
Right. So if it was 25 million, maybe in 3 or 4 years, it would be worth 25 million, and we're increasing the value of their company 100 million in terms of their stock. Yeah. So what do they got to complain about? Yeah. They're all getting rich anyway.
Right.
But then when the house of cards comes down, But there's a big difference between 100 million in revenue for them and $1 billion for Groupon.
Yeah.
2 billion plus for Facebook.
Right. Those are real numbers. Those are big numbers.
It's a big difference.
Huge.
So then you go on, you're VP of Sales at USA Networks. Was that before or after all this?
That was after the implosion.
So after the implosion,
somewhere safe.
You went somewhere safe to go sell ads for Barry Diller.
Essentially, yeah.
Was Barry Diller running it at the time?
He was. I didn't work for him. I worked in a division that was run by a woman named Lisa Brown, and it was all about cobbling together the underutilized assets of Barry Diller's empire and trying to stitch those assets together
QVC,
to generate.
USA Networks.
Yeah, Ticketmaster had a bunch of underutilized call service hours and seats, and HSN had a bunch of warehouse space that was available, and maybe you could cobble it together and go to Target and take over their retail business from Amazon.
Wow.
So that's the kind of stuff I was working on.
That's back when Target was using Amazon for their I'm sure they've gotten rid of that deal since then. Yeah. So then you decide, time for you to be CEO.
I didn't decide that. Someone decided that for me. I had not thought of doing that. I didn't think I was qualified to do it yet.
Okay.
And
just 10 years of getting your ass kicked.
Someone picked up my resume and said, this guy used to work for a search engine, and couple of these guys in Israel are building this company called Quigo, which is loosely in the search space, and maybe there's a match.
A headhunter did this?
A headhunter, and they were about to...
search
consultant.
search consultant, yes.
And they had
retained search.
Someone had put a little bit of funding into the company, and they were trying to attack the government market at the time, and it wasn't going well, and they were about to shut it down. And someone called me up and said, "If you can fix this thing and sell it for $10 million, we'll be thrilled."
Wow.
And that was the proposition.
What do they do to get a CEO like you? They got to offer you 10% of the company, 20%? What do they need to do when the company's in shambles and they come to you?
Yeah, it was around that, around
double
10%.
digit.
You know, it was a percent of the company plus a sort of a kicker if I sold it kind of thing.
Ah, and if you sold it over a certain amount, I guess the kicker goes up.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, that's a good thing for you because you wound up selling it for $340 million to AOL in 2007.
That's
so
correct.
one would consider if you came in at a $10 million valuation to hit 340. My math is not perfect, but I think that's 34x. Is that right?
Yeah,
I think it is. I'm doing the math
We
now.
did a lot better than we expected.
Right. So what was the business of Quigo?
We did two things. The first thing we did is I sat down with the founders of the company. I was not the founder, but I was the first U.S. employee. So I was the first person to sit in an office.
Israeli guys, Mossad guys, perhaps?
Not Mossad guys. One guy was actually from Los Angeles. And
were they Air Force?
They were former Army guys there. And
by the way, it's mandatory service, so everybody's a former Army guy. But
That's
this
true.
is my running joke. Every Israeli startup guy I meet says they flew in the Israeli Air Force. I think the Israeli Air Force has 6 planes.
Yeah.
So somebody's not telling the truth.
Right. I don't think these guys were in any cockpits.
No. Okay.
So
but
they were good technologists. And,
as they always are.
And just, I think, misapplied in the early days, and so we started getting our act together a little bit. And
why is that? I mean, I see that a lot. I always tell people, like, the people in America, the startups in America, better domain names, better understanding of the consumer. Israel, better understanding of the technology.
Look, they're fearless when it comes to building technology. If something requires complex algorithms, they're willing to tackle it because most of them had strong math skills. And so,
big engineering
I realized that quickly. I also realized that they also didn't love to finish building products.
A little ADD going on.
And so
that's all developers.
Yeah,
they get 85% of the way there.
And so look, I essentially eventually moved the team, got new investors, changed the board.
Wow.
And then.
So you rebooted the company.
Yeah, it was a turnaround sort of do-over.
What year was this? Because I mean, I remember
2002.
Oh, this is the worst. I mean, post 9/11, post financial crisis.
I saw Google coming, right? And remember, I had been disrupted by
Google's a private
Google.
company at this point, about to go public.
They were smaller, and getting bigger.
Under 1,000 people.
I was envious of Google. I was envious of Overture, and I knew that at AltaVista, the thing that really worked the best is, man, when you marry ads to search queries.
Oh yes.
Nothing more effective in the world.
Why?
Because it's just perfect. I mean, it's the perfect marketing system.
Unpack it. Why? Why is it?
Why
is it perfect?
I'm a human being searching for car space insurance, and you sell car space insurance.
Right. Never before has something
match.
so targeted existed.
Right. It's a match made in heaven. And when you,
has anything since then even come close to it?
I don't think so. I mean,
I thought social was going to solve everything. It's not. Doesn't perform as well.
I don't think it does, and I don't think it ever will.
Really? So the entire premise of Facebook is that they will figure out social advertising.
I don't believe that. I believe.
Really?
No, I don't. What I believe is that Facebook will be a brute force kind of business model where you have massive amounts of traffic and you can force lots of business models that sort of are logical business models into that footprint. And because you have such scale, automatically you can just make things happen. It's an awesome place to be.
Right.
And frankly,
but not as effective.
No, not
probably as Google, a search engine.
I don't think so.
I mean, Google monetizes at $40 per unique user. Yeah. And right now, if they have $2 billion in revenue and 600 million users, it's about $4, or whatever, or $3.
I think Groupon, frankly, has a better chance.
50 million people doing $1 billion is 20 each.
Yeah, they have a better chance of being more important to certain advertisers and retailers
than Facebook
or Google someday.
Okay,
there'll be certain categories that will be more materially impacted by Groupon promotions than I think will be the case with Google.
Facebook at 50 billion, Groupon at 16 billion. Which would you buy today?
Groupon.
Facebook ad, 35 billion. Groupon at 16 billion. Which you buy?
Why does Groupon keep staying the same?
Okay, Groupon at 30 billion and Facebook at 50.
No,
I'm trying to get an idea of how close you think they are. If they're equally valued, both at 30 billion, which would you take?
Look, I think the thing that's interesting about Groupon is it is attacking a massive $100+ billion market that has been in existence for decades and decades and decades, and is fundamental to the way goods and services are sold in this
Why do you
country.
think social advertising is not going to work? I mean, this is what you hear from everybody. I happen to agree, by the way, but I'm not going to give my opinion. People know it already. People say social. Well, I know your preferences, I know your friends, I know your social network, therefore I can give you ads that you don't even know you want. Why is that not better than typing a word in a box and getting what you want from the advertisers?
Because I still don't know when you want it.
So then it's time.
Yeah, I think time has a lot to do with it. And
your intent at that moment.
Right, and the thing that's genius about Google is Google, I mean, a lot of times, I mean, people are typing in, you know, complex multi-word queries and really narrowing and zeroing in on not only they want a car, but they want this kind of car
in this city.
In this city, I mean, and
this
so
year
they're constantly refining
with this trim package
and better qualifying themselves.
Whereas a social network does what?
No, social networks can infer things, right? That you can. It's inferential marketing, right? You can cobble together a bunch of variables and say, that looks like a person might want to see a Gillette razor ad, and you know, you might get a slightly better response than if you just randomly rotated ads on the web. But again, with Facebook, they don't have to be as good as Google. When you have such massive scale, you can be a little better than a lot of other things and make a ton of money.
Well, they have to have 10 times the traffic if they're making 10% of the money per user. So there's a big gap there. Let's say they double it or triple their effectiveness per user, which is possible, I guess. They still need to have a magnitude more users than Google. It'll be interesting to see if it happens.
But they have many other revenue streams.
Well, the virtual currency seems like the big winner.
Currency. Yeah, they're going to launch other. I mean, they can launch a dating service if they wanted to. There's a lot of things they can do.
I'll tell you, I was talking to somebody. I can say who it is. I was at dinner with Jim Breyer from Excel. Oh, yeah, so big guy. So I'm at the DLD conference. I'm sitting at his table, Guy Oseria and Madonna's manager, and
I know
David Kirkpatrick and some other guy, and they all know Zuckerberg pretty well. And I said, listen, until he uses advertising in that main column, he is not going to have a real business. He's got to put a trailer in your newsfeed. And this guy said to me, David Kirkpatrick from Facebook said, he will never do it. And Jim Breyer seemed to agree. And I said, well, if I was running that company, I would make you I would put one trailer in the 5th spot every 5th time you came. That wouldn't be a Super Bowl commercial every, 5 visits. So, I mean, every 5 days, you have 6 Super Bowl commercials per year. Global, 600 million people seeing your trailer for Toy Story 3. That's worth, I don't know, $50 million, $25 million. I mean, it could be huge. If you were running it, would you insert an ad into the main column? Seems obvious.
I think you test it.
Test it. It's got to work. I mean, have you seen Toys? Who doesn't like Toy Story?
Well, I think my guess is the counter argument is it might work too well, and then we get addicted to it, and the next thing you know, we're bastardizing the thing that made us big in the first place.
I don't know, man. Google's. You look at the Google ads. I mean, I think they enhance the experience. Okay, so fast forward. A couple years ago, I am on Fred Wilson's blog. I see he's invested in a new company called Tract. I go, that's a pretty good name. I'm going to check that out. I look at it and I say, wow, these are all like companies profiled, sort of like, looks a little like Mahalo, a little like, what are those other guys in the Valley doing, like landing topic pages around health and stuff like that? Cosmics. I say, hey, maybe let's look at Cosmics. And that was you.
Yeah.
You raised money from Fred. For Tract, but then you pivot on it and you're doing Hashable.
Yes.
Take me through what Tract was, what was your original idea, and why did you pivot?
Tract was the first thing I did after selling Quigo to AOL in 2007.
So you were hot.
I was hot and bored, and probably
in New York.
Sitting in my house about an hour north of New York City in the winter.
Was that White Plains?
No, Garrison, New York, which is a little town on the Hudson River,
right
on the northern part of, right across from West Point. I spend my weekends there, and at the time I was living there permanently.
Take your high-speed boat down the Hudson to Manhattan?
No, I don't have any gadgets. But but I was bored, and I started bouncing around the internet and looking at business sites and wanting to like a business site, and I couldn't like any of them. And I started to think, well, what's going on in Warren Buffett's life today, and and all the important business people that I want to follow, that I want to track. Yeah. And I started to think, well, geez, maybe I should build something like a Yahoo Finance, but one that has a slightly different data set and maybe is more customizable and that sort of thing, and then try to update it on a very frequent basis. And frankly, I mean, it was the one tangible mistake in my career. And
why?
Well, because I tried to do too much too fast, even though I have a wealth of experience and shouldn't have made that mistake. I tried to do too much too fast, and what I realized pretty quickly, literally within weeks of launching it, is instead of iterating on this thing, I want to build something either different or new.
Wow. So now you have that sinking feeling, holy cow, I took Fred Wilson's money, other people's money. You might have put some of your own money in. You got a bunch of employees. You got a bunch of employees.
Yep.
You've told the world a story that this is important.
Yeah.
But you yourself don't feel it's important anymore.
Well,
you don't want to work on it anymore.
I didn't feel like the execution was good enough. And
well, you built it.
I did.
So that's got to be a really crummy feeling. I mean, who's to blame for that?
Me.
Right. So what, you get up in the morning, you ready to kill yourself or something?
No.
Well, what's it like to look in the mirror and say, I built something that I don't like?
I've never gotten lucky. So I figured, I was on a 5-year slog no matter what. And this was just part of the slog. And so...
so you actually think that, hey, you had to recap that other business. You've had to hustle and fight for every inch.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why should this be any different?
Quigo is a complete slog.
Yeah.
I barely made it to the finish line, and when I did, I needed oxygen. And so I vowed never to do it again also, but I was stupid enough to do it, and now I'm glad I did it. But no, within 2 weeks of launching it, I called my former head of product over at AOL from Quigo, a guy named Teddy Jotty, and I said, Teddy, what are you doing? and he said, well, AOL's having their annual layoffs coming up soon, and I'm probably going to take the buyout.
I think you mean every quarter.
Right, and I said, great, take it, because we got some fixing to do over here, and I need to make Tracked social, because there's a social revolution happening, and I'm just figuring out that this is real, and it ain't going away, and Twitter's real, and Facebook's very real. Remember, Facebook had just turned profitable, and I'm a little bit old-fashioned, and to me, kind of like been there, done that, and now I'm seeing this avalanche, and I got the guys at Union Square saying to me, social, you got to make it social. And I looked at Tracked, and and I ended up reconstituting my team, and bringing in a bunch of my people. Hired a woman named Emily Hickey, who was former head of product at Hot Jobs, and my 4 or 5
Richard
people
Johnson's company in Silicon Alley.
My 4 or 5 people from Quigo, and now I felt like I had confidence in the team, and got rid of sort of the wrong people, and said, okay, what are we going to do here? Can we make Track social? And I think after boiling the ocean for a few months, we realized we couldn't. We didn't know what the idea was. Everything we thought of still felt too thick and too heavy. And so Fred wrote a blog post a few months prior to that saying, if you're going to introduce me to someone, make it a double opt-in intro.
I did read that post.
And I wrote Fred an email that day saying, I'm going to turn this idea into a product someday. And I didn't know what that meant or why.
Right.
So I kept thinking about
what's the concept of double opt-in? You ask one person asks for intro, you ask the other person, do you want the intro?
Ask the people you do it. Yeah, if it's okay. And the more important you are, the more you want people to ask for your permission, I think.
I can't tell you how many people ask me to introduce them to Mark Cuban and Tyler Crowley. It's crazy.
Right. I'm sure that happens all the time.
How many times, Tyler, do people ask you to intro to me?
Once a day, twice a day.
Once a day?
Yeah.
And what do you do? Because you never forward them on.
Right.
So what do you tell them?
Ask them how much money they got. And
shakedown. Right. No, honestly, what do you say to those people?
No, I normally just resolve their issue without, whatever they thought they needed to talk to you about. But you do send
1 or 2 people a week. What is the criteria then?
If they, it depends on what their needs are. And 99%, 95% of the time, they don't need to talk to you. So.
Okay, I like that. See? Filters. So double opt-in means both people ask, and you figure out how to do this with Hashable.
Right.
With hashtags.
And yeah, so look, we looked at that idea. We looked at the concept of people introducing people to each other. We also started to realize that, you know, meetings and coffee meetings and drinks and all the things that you and I do as business people, mostly does not make it to the grid. Doesn't make it in a structured way to the internet.
You make it a little check-in of the place. You make it a tweet of the person, but it's not structured.
Right, and we were fascinated by Foursquare and why are people using that, and do I really care that Jason's at Starbucks, or do I care that Jason's meeting with Mike Yavonditte? I actually think the fact that he's meeting with Mike Yavonditte might be more interesting to a circle of people, and so we started to. So it was really a team effort, and the team contributed to the idea. And frankly, you don't pivot like that without getting total buy-in from your team. And
so talk about that. I mean, I just went through this with Mahalo, and people can watch the video of me talking about the pivot. But how do you come in that day? Tell me, was it one day or was it a process where you just said, we need to pivot, or did everybody have that sense? Was there a moment where you said, what do you guys want to do with this company? Here's my ideas, what are yours? How do you handle a pivot with your team?
You sit as a group and you say, we're the right people as a group. And you,
what does that mean, the right people, like a subsection?
Yeah, a subset of people who are product minded, and you say, hey, we're not gonna turn Tract into the next exciting social network. So, what we think there's an opportunity to do something successful in and around this idea of introducing people or getting meetings on the grid, that sort of thing. So let's think about it tonight. Let's come in tomorrow. You come in with your ideas and I'll come in with my ideas, and we will battle test them and troubleshoot them.
Wow! So this was like a process.
Oh yeah, we had a process, and we ended up sort of coming up with a mosaic of ideas that were stitched together, and the rest is history. I mean that's.
So here I am in the system. I was just looking at my notifications, but I made some introductions. Where's my? Let's see. They'll pull it up on the screen in a second here, I think. My connection's working. My connection's really slow for some reason. But I introduced Amare Stoudemire of the New York Knicks to Carmelo Anthony of the Nuggets. I thought that was pretty clever of me. But yeah, so you can introduce two people together. The first tool.
We would prefer that you introduce people that you know.
Right.
To other people that
How do you know I don't know Carmelo and Amare? I know Amare. But somebody just actually, and here's my sort of stream of people and who you ran into. And so basically the way it works.
By the way, it's my favorite tag. My favorite check-in with a person is ran into. So the last thing I posted was probably that I ran into you.
Yeah. So you put pound ran into, and you put at Hashable into a tweet.
Yeah.
And Hashable sucks it from Twitter.
No, this actually came from my native app.
Oh, from the app. So you have the native app on.
iPhone app, and I have a bootleg version of an Android app that's not out to the public yet. But
so the Android app, it sort of takes you through the structure. You say who you ran into.
You say you pick the action, which is I ran into someone, and then it says who'd you run into.
Right.
I pick at Jason.
Right.
And I can either post that to Twitter or not.
Right.
And I decide on a per transaction basis how I want to check in with you. Do I want to check in via your Twitter handle or your email address? And then do I want to make it public or not? And that's the process. It's people check-ins for business people.
Right. So I'm checking each person. So instead of carrying cards with me, I just take out my phone, type in your Twitter account, I met you, and now I've got it memorialized on the site, and I can share it socially if I want to.
One of the features is just met. You type in someone's email address, and what it does is adds that person to your address book and emails them your business card.
So it takes the structured information that I put into Hashable already and puts it into their address book, so now you're managing it automatically.
Puts it into your address book and theirs.
Yeah, and here Jane Kim, who I met, who's your BD person, she put pound, just met, Jason Calacanis, great meeting you, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And, it's interesting because you go look on here, and I started getting people using this, and they were doing it, like dinner, like here, Laurel Toby put pound dinner with Jason Rapp. This is on Tuesday night I didn't know Laurel Toby was a user for Media Bistro, but she had dinner with me, and so she put in there that she had dinner, and now it's memorialized there, and it's on mine. And actually, this person, the sales rep at Rolex, introduced me to Robin Quivers from the Howard Stern Show because she heard that I'm doing the vegan thing. I'm going pescatarian this year. My wife's trying to get me to lose a little weight. Wow, I haven't. seen all of these. I didn't know somebody introduced me to Robin. So I could see how this gets really addicting really quickly. You're basically, it's almost like this virtual LinkedIn is occurring in the ether, and you're pulling it down. Is that what's happening?
We're creating a completely new data set. So people keep trying to bait me into saying that I compete with LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I avoid that. Just like when I was at Quigo, they tried to bait me into saying that I competed with Google, and I avoided that.
Well, there's no reason this can't integrate with LinkedIn, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
You could pull in my network from LinkedIn, and then somehow, if I have a LinkedIn and you have a LinkedIn, and I just met you, it could say to me, want to connect on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it could.
There's an API for LinkedIn.
It's a limited API.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can't do much with it.
So it's an API just to sort of get the little checkbox that they have an API, but it really doesn't.
There's not a lot of stuff you can do with it.
Yeah, you know why? Because they don't want to get into a situation where all those headhunters, I think headhunters pay $7,500 a year to have an account.
Right.
And like if you're a junior headhunter, like you might have 5 people in a company on one, but then as you get older and you grow up as a headhunter, this is what I heard from an insider. Then so they let them do that. They let them play that game where 5 people log in. But then as you get older, Tyler, they make you get your own. And
well, they've built a fantastic business. I have a lot of respect for LinkedIn, and I find it a useful service. It's not very social, and it's not very fun to use, but it is incredibly useful. If you're searching for people.
A couple of $100 million in revenue, and now I think that they filed for their IPO today, or was it yesterday? Yesterday, I think yesterday. Yesterday. Wow, crazy. So, what do you do in terms of investors? You talked about how you got everybody in a room, and this was the bake-off winner. Was it your idea, or was Fred's idea? And you riffed on it.
Well, I mean, it was like a combination of ideas that we thought fit together.
Right.
And so, we twisted it and turned it and massaged it and manipulated it to a point where it made sense.
So tell me about going to the investors.
I think they were thrilled, to be honest with you.
Why did they not think Tagged was working?
Well, I think they thought that Tracked was. I think the pattern they were recognizing in the marketplace is that sort of more narrow ideas were
more focused.
We're doing better.
Right.
And it's that simple. And the concept of being the complete and comprehensive product, that idea of being broad and having a strong foundation.
Trust me, I know. Welcome to Mahalo.
It was for some reason it's not in vogue today. It's not what users
is hard.
It's not what users are looking for in a lot of cases.
Well, they want something niche that solves some specific problem in their lives.
Right.
And when you say, I want to become your blank of everything, they say, well, you don't have enough of everything because there's so much competition.
Right.
It's very hard.
Yeah, it is. So we went to Brad Burnham is actually my board, not Fred.
Oh yeah, okay, sure.
So we'd been
What's he like? Is he a little dorky or like cerebral compared to Fred? Fred's very outgoing. Most people don't know Brad. He's kind of a little more cerebral. Is that how you'd say it? Or what?
The brains behind the operation.
Is he really?
No, I don't know. I mean, I think they're both really smart.
Well, they're definitely both smart. I mean, look at the track record. But I mean, Fred is really out there. I mean, the guy does a blog post a day. I mean, he says things that he regrets. I mean, he gets on stage at Web 2.0. I mean, he went crazy.
Yeah.
And people thought that he was. I mean, he went nuts at Web 2.0.
Yeah.
He said some crazy stuff. Is he crazy?
No, he's not crazy.
He's not crazy.
I think he's, if he's not the top VC in the country, then he's got to be in the top few.
Top 5. Top 5. Him,
they have
Roloff, Jim Breyer. Yeah.
They have, several billion-dollar plus companies in their portfolio.
Hey, Tumblr, Twitter, Zynga.
And you know what? The thing I really...
Etsy.
Yeah, and the thing, and so I think they're all really good.
So what about Brad? What's the sort
Brad
of
gives good advice. He's not, he's not a super user of internet technologies. Admittedly.
So then, what does he bring to the table? He has business acumen.
Yeah, things he sees in the marketplace. He's got a lot of experience.
Bigger picture. Running businesses.
He's got a lot of common sense. And I listened to him. And one of the things I had to convince him of when I first met him is that no matter what I've accomplished in my life, I still listen to people.
Right.
And he believed that. And,
you listen to people now more than you did when you were a younger entrepreneur?
Maybe I listened to him in a different way.
Explain.
I had much more to prove when I was making my way up the ladder.
When you were fighting?
I had a nasty chip on my shoulder. I think some people still think I have that chip on my shoulder. Look, good ideas can come from anywhere.
Right.
And my job is to listen to everything and try to figure out who's got the best idea. And it doesn't have to come from me.
How did it change when you took down the windfall from Quigo? I mean, was that your FU money? Like, was that your FU moment? Like, I did this, everybody counted me out, everybody thought I had a chip, and I did it. I made this happen.
Yes.
And you did. I mean,
yes, I felt
how
that
does that
way.
change you as an entrepreneur? Did it calm you down? Did it take the chip off? Did it take the edge off?
I still feel so motivated.
Really?
Yeah,
did it
I really
make you
do.
burn hotter because I want more of that feeling?
Now I want to do it again. I want to
You
do
do?
it because few people have ever done it twice.
Right.
As you know.
So now,
once you're lucky, twice you're good.
yeah, that's right.
you know,
Sarah
you're-
Lacey's book.
Yeah,
So-
no, I believe in that. I mean, I think, look, the thing that was really hard for me at Quigo was even our own employees doubted us.
Oh man, that's a fun day at work.
Well, you know why? At the time, I wasn't quite sure why, but the truth is that a lot of them, we were competing head-to-head with Google every single day that we existed. Because the main business, we were sort of in the SEM business, but we're also in the serving of text ads on content pages business.
Yeah. Also known as AdWords.
Yeah, and that was a juggernaut for Google, and we dared to compete head-to-head with them, and Yahoo, of course, and Overture. And so we had to build a ton of technology and had to figure out how to differentiate ourselves. And we worked in the premium segment of the marketplace, the top 1,000 publishers, and everyone told me that would be my Vietnam because Google would just write checks and destroy you. And what they didn't know was I thought that we could actually make the pie bigger for publishers.
Right.
And that's
Because you would
essentially
allow-
what we did.
Because you had that little link that said buy ads on this site and Google didn't have it?
Yeah, not only buying
That
on the
was the
site,
secret,
but
wasn't it?
bid on this page.
Bid
so
on this
instead
page.
of buying the word car on Google and then ending
And
up on a
buying
car
people's
site,
competitors.
I went to ESPN and said, is your site worth 30 cents a click or is it worth $5 a click? Oh, it's worth $5 a click. Can you do that? I'm like, yeah, we can do that. We can actually create separate auctions for your brand.
So you basically made a customized Google that out-Googled Google.
In a segment of the marketplace.
Right.
And
For those 1,000 people.
and
You
the
solved their
challenge-
problem.
Yeah, and the challenge was convincing ESPN that it was true.
Right. And then you got Google with the fairy dust and the IPO and the
Right. And it took us years.
Tim Armstrong with the suit and the great hair going out.
It took us years to convince big publishers to turn Google off and to turn us on. Our big break was Fox News. Fox News, the GM of Fox News called us up one day and said, you know, we're going to turn Google off and we're going to give you guys a shot. Google was doing 50 grand a month. We told them we could do 80 or 100 grand a month.
Were you right?
We were very wrong. When we sold the company, we were doing $750,000 a month for Fox News.
Whoa.
That's how much better we got.
10x.
Yeah, and they probably doubled their traffic during that period of time.
Right, okay, so
we
5x.
were
Yeah.
on that site 20 times better than Google.
Wow.
And the reason was
Well, wait, what happened to the employees? Were depressed. Why? Because it was just too hard to compete with them?
because every time we talked to a publisher, there was a Google biz dev guy in the lobby
Right.
waiting to see that publisher right after us or right
Just
before us.
relenting competition, the grind.
and
not everybody's made out for that.
Tomorrow, Google's, the rumor is they're gonna
Destroy this, take
They're
that
gonna
market.
launch a new version of AdSense that's
That
gonna
allows you to
have
do this.
site targeting and
They never
page
did it.
targeting. And
Why did they never do it?
They because I felt
They
like
don't
we,
wanna screw up
look,
the-
I felt like we had them trapped. We could actually create auctions for the top 1,000 sites and have 20,000 auctions going on at one time and have an interface that displayed that information, that sort
Yeah.
of thing. But Google had like millions of sites, and if they were to copy us, they would have had billions of auctions. And how in the world would you ever display that in an interface? I just didn't think that would ever happen.
So
I
after
felt
you-
like we had them trapped.
So this huge victory lap, you sell it, you make a lot of money, and you can't calm down. You say, I have to do it again?
Yeah.
How soon between when The Wire, what is
6
that?
months.
6 months later.
The
Tell me
second
about the
The
moment.
Wire-
Tell me about that moment.
I ran out of the building.
No. Tell me about the moment when you're sitting at your computer
Yeah.
and what do you got? You got your Bank of America open, your Wells Fargo, and you hit refresh.
I didn't do that.
Come on now. Don't lie to Jason.
I really didn't.
How did
my
you
CFO,
had to, was hitting refresh like this.
My CFO was hitting refresh, and he
Okay.
told me that the money hit the account.
And what did you do?
literally within 30 seconds, I was down on the street because I had
Are you
negotiated
in a
my
daze?
departure.
Are you in like a haze? Like, oh my God,
No, I'll
is it
tell you,
surreal?
actually, within 30 seconds, I was down the hallway, on the elevator, in front of my building, and as I was walking out of my building, one of my best friends in the world from high school was walking by coincidence. And I don't even think he knew that I had just sold my company for a bunch of money. And I said, "Hey, where you going? Let's go grab lunch." And that was my day.
That's it.
And I had lunch with him, and I
When did it hit you? When did it hit you? On the ride home? When did it hit you? It had to hit you at some point. My God, this is life-changing money.
You know, that night I had heart palpitations.
Really? Did you cry, or you just sweating?
I was nervous.
Really? It just made you nervous.
It was a weird feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there. Drop a zero.
Yeah.
Or two, maybe.
No, it's
surreal.
It was a
freeing.
Yeah, it was
disturbing. Guilty. What?
I didn't know what I was feeling. It just felt. Yeah, I just felt like this can't be real. This can't.
See, nobody will talk about this moment. I always tell people this is a real experience. It's very hard for people to deal with sometimes.
Yeah, it was. I was nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More money, more problems.
Like what the hell am I going to do, and what am I going to do with this money, and where am I going to put it, and I don't know anything about managing money, and it was just.
What's the first thing you buy?
I went to Banana Republic and bought like 20 T-shirts and like 20 pairs of boxer shorts and 20 pairs of socks, and didn't want to do laundry for a month.
You're nuts.
I didn't buy anything.
You're a madman.
To this day, I've not bought.
No fancy car.
No fancy car.
No NetJets.
I looked at a Maserati and I didn't buy it.
What about NetJets? You get NetJets car?
I dreamed about
come on, you got
private jets and
you didn't
would
get
never
a
do it.
NetJets car? No.
I'm a blue-collar guy from upstate New York.
Jesus Christ! You buy a new house at least? You buy your mom a house?
No, I didn't, but I did fix up my house.
All right, fine.
I did fix up my house.
Michael, continued success. Congratulations on Hashable. Great company. You know, I'm
download the iPhone app.
Download the iPhone app. You're always
Android coming soon.
And you are hiring people right now, or no?
Oh, sure, always hiring.
And so, what is it, Mike at Hashable? I'm taking a guess.
Yavo at Hashable.
Yavo. So that would be Y-A-V-O, Yavo. So if there's some brilliant young person who wants to learn from a Jedi Master, they just email you and say, hey, I want to be a Padawan. Let's do this. Continued success, Tyler.
We didn't have a call-in. You said there was something.
We were going to do a call-in, but you know what? The interview's going so good. I just thought, you know what? That can wait. This was a good interview. I wanted to get. I had him. You know what? It's like an Oprah moment. I've been watching. You see Piers Morgan do the Oprah interview?
No.
So I was having this sort of like Piers Morgan moment. I was like, I knew I could get him to tell me like what that moment was like because we're having such a good conversation. So you know, that's like a boxing match when you're interviewing. If I can get him comfortable talking about the business, then I can throw those last couple in about what it's like to take down the big win and. You know, that's like a very personal, emotional moment. Most people wouldn't share it. I think I give you credit for sharing it. Thank you to MailChimp for making all things good in the world possible. MailChimp. Now, you know what's going to happen now? We're going to have too many people who want to advertise, and then we're all going to be calling Mo at thisweekinstartups.com and saying, can Jason make this animal sound for my advertisement? I'm going to be getting like, elephant mail, and I'm going to have to be going, elephant mail. Thanks, MailChimp, for making my email newsletter possible. Thanks for making independent media like This Week in Startups possible. Everybody go to download the Hashable application, blah, 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 blah. Sorry to Mikey on the Shark Tank. We'll get you next time. And if you would like to be on Shark Tank or Ask Jason, you just email askjason@thisweekend.com, and producer Rob, the czar, will get back to you. Subscribe, youtube.com/thisweekinstartups, and make sure you follow twitter.com/TWI Startups. And if you'd like to get the special episodes that are only available on iTunes, you must subscribe to the show and the RSS feed on iTunes. You can't get every 5 or 6 episodes. We do a special episode that's only available on iTunes. That's to get our iTunes numbers up. And boy, does it work. It's pandering, but it works. Thanks for being on the program.
Thanks for having me.
See you next time.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.